Budget phones have compromises. They might come with a good display but might not have good performance, and vice versa. Likewise, it might come with good performance but they might skimp on the other things, and usually budget phones skimp on the design and build quality. But this phone, this one is different. For starters, it comes with a glass back. Yes, a sub 200 euro phone has a glass back and looks pretty good, to be honest. It has a smooth finish, looks very nice. And if you look at the camera design, it is very similar to, I think you guessed it, iPhone. Yes. And they have gone for a plastic frame, but that does not mean it looks cheap. They have gone for a metallic kind of finish on the plastic frame and it feels good, to be honest. Even better, Xiaomi has also provided IP53 rating on this budget phone. And moving on to the front, we have a hole punch in the middle, and the bezels are also pretty good, pretty thin for a budget phone, so it is overall a very good design. But this phone is slightly on the taller side. It has a big display, so people with small hands might need to stretch a little bit to reach all the corners, and it might feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I think it's fine. Likewise, let's move on to ports and buttons. So on this side, we have a volume rocker and a power button. The power button also doubles as a fingerprint sensor. So the fingerprint is fast and reliable. We haven't had any issues with the fingerprint sensor. Now moving to the bottom, we have a mic, a USB Type-C port and a speaker. Likewise, on top we have a headphone jack and a IR blaster. And on this side we have a dual SIM slot. So you can have two SIM cards at the same time, or a SIM card and a micro SD. As for the display, this phone comes with a 6.79-inch Full HD Plus IPS LCD panel, and that also with 90 Hz refresh rate. Yes, a 90 Hz panel for under 200 euros. So the panel is pretty good. It is vibrant and the colors look good. So for content viewing, it is a very good panel. It also comes with wideband L1 certification, so you can also play Full HD content on streaming services like Netflix. Now moving on to the brightness, Xiaomi claims that this goes up to 550 nits, which is decent. Indoors is pretty good, but outdoors under direct sunlight, this is not the most comfortable display to use. Now moving on to the 90 Hz refresh rate, for a phone at this price tag, the display feels smooth. The high refresh rate is really good on this panel. Likewise, it also has adaptive sync, so it drops down up to 36 Hz according to content. In our testing, while watching YouTube videos, it dropped down to 60 Hz, 48 Hz or 36 Hz according to the video. For the performance, the phone comes with MediaTek's Helio G88 chipset, which is an old chipset, but it does pretty good in terms of performance, because daily tasks like navigating UI, opening apps, light multitasking, this phone handles everything smoothly. Well, this might not be the most powerful chipset at this price tag, it does the job. And we also did testing on this phone, benchmarks. You can see Geekbench 5, likewise AnTuTu 9 and AnTuTu 10, and also 3D LifeMark scores. And it scores very similar to other phones with Helio G88, and also in terms of stress test, it does pretty good. It only throttles up to 86% of max performance, which is pretty good. And also our best variant in Nepal is 6128GB. It comes with eMMC store, it is not UFS storage. Now moving on to gaming, we played PUBG Mobile at SD graphics with high frame rate option, and we're getting 28.2 average frame rates. The gameplay was smooth with no hitches, didn't notice any frame drops while playing the game. Likewise, at balanced graphics and ultra frame rate, we got an average FPS of 35.3 with very smooth gameplay, no frame drops or stutters. The gameplay was pretty good. Now moving on to Call of Duty, we can play at medium graphics with high frame rate, and we were getting consistent 60 FPS gameplay. The gameplay was very smooth, no stutters, no frame drops. Overall, a very good gaming experience. So for the price, this is not the best chipset you can get for max performance, but this does a pretty good job. And also in terms of thermals, the phone reached a max temperature of 40 degrees Celsius, which is not bad by any means. But what's bad is that you guys are still not subscribed to our channel, so do hit that subscribe button and also hit that bell icon for notifications, and that will be better. Now the next thing that this phone does good is the camera. So we get a triple camera setup here, a 50 megapixels main sensor, a 8 megapixels ultra wide, and a 2 megapixels macro sensor. Likewise, on the front we have a 8 megapixel selfie sensor. So photos from the main camera are generally good. For some reason the phone has 1x and 5x default zoom labels, and the camera is not really sharp enough for 5x zoom, so we are a bit confused why Redmi did this instead of the normal 1.5x or 2x. So daytime shots have really good details and sharpness. The dynamic range is also decent. Highlights are often blown out as the photos tend to be brighter. If you use HDR, better as it tends to lighten the color even so slightly while boosting shadows, but it does not change the overall feel of the image. And one annoying thing about the HDR is that it needs to be turned on every single time after you close the camera app. And we also get a dedicated night mode which really controls the highlights and boosts shadows to give an overall better exposure, but introduces some noise. The detail is also not that good. Now the 8 megapixels ultra wide camera is nothing to boast about, but at this price tag you usually get a 5 megapixels ultra wide camera, so this one is slightly better. The edges can look a bit blurry and might lack details, but the color is good and the overall sharpness is only decent. The photos are not that pleasing but still usable. Moving on to the macro sensor, it is a 2 megapixels macro, so there's nothing really good about it. Lacks detail, it looks noisy, and the color is also not that good. So the selfies look decent, the exposure and skin tone looks good. It is a bit low on details. Indoor shots will introduce noise, but the outdoor shots look good with good color and decent dynamic range. Now what's good is the portrait photo. So edge detection is really good and the background and foreground separation is really good on the Redmi 12. Likewise, the colors and skin tones are natural. The portrait mode is really good on the Redmi 12. As for the videos, you can capture up to 1080p 30 FPS videos from both the main camera and the ultra wide camera. Now the main camera's video quality is decent. Like in daylight, the videos look good, sharp enough. The color is not that, vibrant, but it does the job. But the ultra wide videos do lack details. Of course, it's an ultra wide camera at budget, so that is what we expect. And also, it does not have any kind of EIS, so the videos are not stabilized. So the battery on this thing is pretty nice. It has a 5000 mAh battery and it also comes with 18-watt fast charging support. The battery life in mixed uses while we're running benchmarks, playing some games, using camera, some daily activities, we're getting up to 6 hours of screen on time. So if you use it lightly, you might be able to push it up to 7 hours of screen on time, so that's good. And also for charging, this takes slightly over 2 hours to go from 0 to 100%. Now moving on to the OS, it comes with Android 13 out of the box and Xiaomi promises 2 years of upgrades, so we hope they deliver on this promise. Now talking about the experience, it is slightly surprising that Xiaomi has not given any kind of bloatware on this. So I think the global variant of the Redmi 12 does not come with any kind of bloatware, but that might not be the case with the Indian variant, which will launch on 1st August. Except that it is the same MIUI experience you get on all of the other Redmi phones. Now we'll finally talk about the pricing. So this phone, in some markets, this starts at €199 for the 4128GB variant, which is roughly equal to 17,000 Indian rupees. And in market like Thailand, this goes for 5,299 watt, which is roughly equivalent to 12,500 Indian rupees. And in market like ours, Nepal, this launched for 17,999 Nepali rupees for the 6128GB base variant, and the 8 256GB variant goes for 20,999 Nepali rupees. According to reason, this phone is worthwhile picking, and in some reason, this might not be worthwhile picking because in regions like Europe, 5G is also a deciding factor, and this phone does not come with 5G. So in market like ours, Nepal, India, Malaysia, Thailand, this is the best value phone because this might not have the best camera, not the best performance, not the best display, but it combines everything and is an overall best value phone. So yes, easy recommendation.